Hello, and thank you for joining my channel today. Today, we're going to go over the Ballistics app for my Android cell phone. It's made by Strelok, and it looks something like this right here. It gives you windage and holdover in minutes of angle or milrads. So we're going to go over this today and show you how to use the app. It works very efficiently in the field, and for a hunter, this is the best app that I have seen. It's the fastest and most efficient to get your solution. This program will ensure that you will have a first shot impact on your animal and no more Kentucky windage. Is 5,000 foot elevation. The temperature at hunting weather is 80 degrees. That's how we set it up. So let's go and hit OK. Look at the bottom of the tables here. If you want to check additional info, and this gives you the new value of the velocity, because the air is thinner and you're at higher altitude and the temperature is fairly warm, it'll increase your velocity a little bit, which will in turn increase your energy, etc. So the other thing that we have here is there's a table which we can change the settings of the table, but right now I'm on distance in 100-yard increments. Changing the setting values, your options. You can select or deselect any setting you want, and then hit OK. And with this information, we can get a good idea or effective energy downrange. So if 800 is an energy foot-pound number that we deem as a terminal velocity, just picking a number, then our effective range goes up to 1,000 yards for that rifle and that particular bullet, with a velocity of 1,683 feet per second. Some projectiles require 1,800 feet per second for maximum expansion on the bullet. Now, I want to show you an example of this particular bullet at 500 yards. Back to our table. At 500 yards, we have 222 feet a second, and we have a energy foot-pound value of 1415, let's say. Now, let's maintain the same rifle. We'll go back to the menu, and it's a day later after our hunt, and it's now 30 degrees temperature, and we're going out with the same rifle, the same bullet, and load. So we need to change the weather in which we're hunting. So we hit this button, we drop the temperature to 30 degrees, and we hit done, and we hit OK, and then we hit calculate. Now notice that the 80-degree weather, our MOA was 8.47. What do you think the difference is going to be with colder weather? Let me show you. It's 9.92, or 1.5 minutes an angle. So at 500 yards, 1.5 minutes angle is a difference of 7.5 inches of point of impact from one day difference to the next, using the same bullet, the same everything, except that the only change was a 50-degree temperature swing. Now, just a curiosity, if we look at the minutes of angle right now, and we have 0 slope angle, but let's change that. We're shooting extremely downhill. So we're going to move this slope angle, and we're going to go to, say, 30-degree angle, and we hit OK. And then we hit calculate. We go from 458 to 353. So there's a difference of 1 minute of angle. So that would take you off target, that difference, approximately 3¼ inches. This is why I'd rather use a ballistics app than a pre-programmed turret marked in yardage calibrated for a type of condition. As a hunter, our conditions change constantly all the time. So between temperatures, barometric pressure, altitude, there's so many variables. I can have my scope work no matter what condition, and I have the option to use different bullets because I'm using this ballistic app. So in the real world, let's show you how fast you can make your corrections. So we're going hunting. First thing we do before hunting is hit and open your app. Let's go into the zeroing weather, and we need to find out what the temperature is that we're hunting. Input the information. Maybe it's 48 degrees. Okay? We'll say the pressure is the same, and the altitude, maybe we need to change that. We found out that it was really 4,972 feet where we're hunting. Done. Hit OK. Now that you're in the field, as long as the temperature is constant, then this value will never change except the yardage and distance. So you see your animal, you hit the button, you say 325, that's how far he is, and then your slope angle first, and maybe you're dead level, so you hit OK. And then you say your wind, and you change the degree. He's right there. You're done. You hit calculate, and it's that fast. So in a real hunting condition, those are the only steps you take, is finding our reticle. There's a whole library of reticles to use. So you could go through this information of reticles, different reticles. You can pick which reticle best suits your rifle, and when you're completed you would just hit enter. But in this case I'll hit the back arrow and we're good to go. So if we were to look at a search, we would hit the button for search reticle, and maybe we're going to use a vortex scope. So just hit vor, and then pretty soon it comes up with a main library, and we'll pick this first focal plane EBR1 as our reticle. I'm going to hit the back arrow and give you a look at what the reticle may look like. So if we go back to the main page, we're back at the main page now, and here's our reticle. We hit reticle, and so this right here you can expand, just open it up. You can move it, so wherever you want to move it to. And then we have a target here. And now what we can do with this is the particular cartridge for the weapon that we chose, the rifle, our zeroing distance we can change. Right now it's at 300, and I like to zero my rifle at 100 yards. So you just hit 100 and enter done. Okay, now to look at our rifle and our data, hit this button, and then we come to a menu whereby we have the information. In this case, 7mm Remington mag, and then we have our scope right here. If we hit that, what we come up with is we come up with our zero distance, for this case 100 yards, and then we have our scope height, which is center of bore to center of scope. It's the vertical height of that. And then we can use click values in either MRAD, minute of angle, for both horizontal and vertical. And then here is how you change to the MRAD, or whichever way you want to go. Hit the back arrow to go back if everything's good. We want to know if this reticle is in the first focal plane. Now, the difference between the first focal plane is that when you turn your dial in power, the image either grows or expands of the crosshair, or gets smaller. The second focal plane, which is most common and most hunting rifles have, the crosshair remains constant in size, but the target gets either smaller or bigger depending on the power setting. In this case, we have a second focal plane scope, so we're not going to mark that. And then we need to figure out what our magnification is of the reticle we're using. So this particular scope is a 3:9, but we could change that. So we could change it to, this could be 4, and this one here could be, let's say, 14. Okay, and then our maximum will be 14. So we've now set everything. We set and hit OK. As we look here, we see that we've changed the reticle from the normal default size for the ballistic plex, and we changed it here to 4 power to 14 in the second focal plane. This scope is really not available. I'm just demonstrating to you that you can change it to customize the reticle size. We'll switch this back to the 3 to 9, and then we'll go to 9, and then our maximum overall is 9, and we'll hit OK. So now we've changed this to the 3 to 9 with a maximum of 9 power. So let's go back to the main menu, and we hit the reticle button, and our scope will come up. So what you see is the ballistic plex reticle, and we have these subtensions at different ranges. Over here there's a slide bar. It's on maximum power right now, and most commonly we shoot on maximum power. But if you pay attention, this slide bar, we can grab it and bring it over. And what that does is it changes the value, additionally changes the target. In this case, our target, we put a deer up there, and I'm set for 1,000 yards, so this scope is not correctly set up for long range. So we want to change the distance in which our target. So we hit the button and then pick our range. Let's say 500 yards. Quite a long shot. We're done. We hit calculate, and it changes all our information and our corrections. And then we go back to our reticle, and now we have our target. Okay, so we have our target right here. This one right now is a deer, but let's change that. Let's change that target and go back and scroll down on your backup and scroll down on your main menu, and we'll go to settings, and then we will scroll down and we'll pick the target type, and then we will scroll down, and there's quite a menu of targets. So in this case, I'd like a more refined target. I'll pick this red dot, and then I'll hit done, close. Then we'll go back, and then I'll hit calculate, and then hit our reticle, and you can see I have a really fine dot here. Now this can move if we hit windage. Let's go back to the main page, and we want to correct the windage. So we have a 10-mile-an-hour wind, let's say, so I'll punch in 10, and then you're the shooter and your target's at the 12 o'clock position, and this dial is a relationship of the wind between you and your target. So I'm going to put it right by close to 9 o'clock. I'm going to hit calculate, and it's give me a value for horizontal corrections. Now we will go back to the reticle, and you can see that we have moved the wind, and now that's our new target, and we need to hold to the left of target by that difference. So by using your reticle, you can adjust from the duplex over and kind of gauge the distance that you need to hold your rifle. So pretty cool. Another feature is the slope angle on this. So what we do is we pick their slope angle, and we get this gauge in here, and if we want to use the internal device, you can see how this bar moves depending on, you can hold your phone at different angle in relationship to your target, sighting down the edge of your phone to the target, and then you can select OK. And then what it'll do is it'll automatically calculate your slope angle. Now we hit calculate, and it gives you your slope angle correction for elevation. You can also use this app to check the ballistic coefficients of different projectiles for your rifle, and you could create your own scenarios. So we could hit rifle. I'm going to change the rifle. We'll go to the 7 mag because I have more data on that. So once we figure that out, then we just double check our 0, make sure we're all there, and we'll go in to the change the cartridge. So now what we can do is look at things like AccuBond long range, and then hit OK, and then close, and we'll go back to this window, and we'll just go to 500, and then we'll hit calculate. Okay, so that particular projectile that we're shooting, we want to know how it's behaving. So we go to the table, and if we look at 500 yards, you have a velocity of 2533. And then you have your energy foot-pounds at 2138. Now, we'll close this. We'll go back to the rifle. And we'll select, again, this here to get back to our cartridge. Now, we'll go to the 168 grain, and you'll notice our velocity is changing. Hit OK, and then we'll hit close, and we go back and we hit table. Now it is calculated 2145 for velocity, and then for the energy foot-pounds is 17 and 16. So close that, hit that. Then go back to here. We're going to change the cartridge. We'll go to the Barnes LRX. This one moves at 2725, And we're good with that. We hit OK, we hit the back arrow, calculate, and we then check our menu, go to the table, and here we are at 500 yards. It's 2068, so write that down, 68, and then the distance, 1596, is the energy foot-pounds. Close that one out and find the projectile again, and maybe we want to change that cartridge, and we'll go to the Barnes 150 grain, and we hit OK, back arrow, hit calculate, we find our information, hit the table, and now we are at 2081 velocity, and the energy foot-pounds is 1442. Okay, before us I put together a chart of those different bullets that I had showed you and demonstrated. So as an example, we have a 150 grain Nosler AccuBond long range bullet. The coefficient is 611. The muzzle velocity in this projectile was 3,200 feet a second. At 500 yards, the velocity was 2533, and the energy foot-pounds was 2138. And then down below it is the AccuBond 168 grain bullet, coefficient 652. Velocity at the muzzle was 2705, kind of a slower bullet. Its velocity out to 500 yards was 2145, and the energy foot-pounds was 1716. Barnes, you can look at the LRX, the long-range version. Ballistic coefficients is quite considerably less at 0.550. Muzzle velocity of 2725, and the velocity at 500 yards was 2068 with an energy foot-pounds of 1596. Then we have the tip triple shock by Barnes 150 grain. 0.450 is the ballistic coefficient value, the velocity 2900, and at 500 yards it's moving 20 or 2081 feet per second, and the energy foot-pounds is 1442. So with this program you can get a good idea on your velocities and different bullets and calibers and what might have enough energy foot-pounds to meet your needs downrange. I'd like to thank you for joining my channel today. We've given you a rough idea on how this ballistics app program can work for you in the field, and it will improve your success. This program will ensure that you will have a first shot impact on your animal and no more Kentucky windage.